And we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fresh Fit Podcast, man. We're going to be hitting Fresh Fit news tonight, man. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Let's go! And we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fresh Fit Podcast, man. It's Monday night, which means we're going to be covering F&F news. So today, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to focus exclusively on what's going on in the Middle East. And then tomorrow, I'm going to be doing an extended stream where I'm going to cover the hurricanes, the mayor of New York getting indicted. I'll give you guys updates on that. I'll cover pre-debate coverage as far as J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. I'll kind of educate you guys on who those two individuals are. We'll also be covering any updates on the conflict because, as you guys know, it's rapidly evolving. And actually, we got an expert in the house, so we're going to introduce you to him in a second. And pretty much anything else that's going on. I know some cultural stuff. I'll talk about Aiden Ross and Fuzi and them streaming in Canada. We'll be reacting to some of that stuff. So that's going to be a longer stream tomorrow. So I will be live tomorrow, guys, on all the platforms, as you guys know. Tomorrow, probably starting around sometime in the mid-afternoon or early evening. You know, I'll probably be starting no later than like 3 or 4 p.m., 5 p.m. at the absolute latest. And we'll go into the night, cover the news, then cover the debate. It's going to be a good time. And we'll be reacting to it live, real time. So yeah, we got definitely some good things to talk about. But as you guys know, we're live streaming on all the platforms right now: YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, etc. If you guys are a brokey, go ahead and type in "I'm a brokey" on Twitch, and someone will gift you a sub. And right now we're running a special. If you gift a year, 50 subs, you get a year of CastleClub for free. And what else? Yeah, that's pretty much it that I could think of. And then F&F Super Chat, if you guys want to go ahead and donate to the stream, get your questions answered. But right now we're going to be focusing on a very rapidly evolving topic. I got an expert in the house. We got Sulaiman Ahmed in the house, Sheikh Sulaiman, a.k.a. on Twitter. He's here. He's calling in remotely. What's up, Sulaiman?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be on as usual.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to have you on. Obviously, probably one of the biggest Twitter accounts, especially when it comes to Middle Eastern affairs, what's going on between what went down, on October 7th to now. There's been quite a bit of movement on this, and I think for our Western viewers, whether you're from the United States or the United Kingdom, Canada, etc., this conflict is absolutely going to affect you guys. Whether you think it's not gonna, or whether you think it will or it won't, it absolutely will. So Sulaiman, can you kind of, number one, introduce yourself, and then number two, go into how we got here and kind of give us an update on what led up to these events, and then we can go into what's been going on today, because today there's been literally a flurry of different things. I've seen your Twitter feed. Every 2 minutes you're updating guys on what's going on, so you're the most up-to-date on everything, so I'll turn it to you.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Yeah, I'll try and give a breakdown. I think I came on your show when they did the pager attack, but I'll just go back a little bit because there might be new people on here. So basically, you had a scenario where obviously everybody knows about the genocide that's happening in Gaza.
Introduce yourself real quick first, though.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm Sulaiman Ahmed. I'm on Twitter. I basically cover geopolitics in an extensive manner, specifically the Middle East, generally speaking. Obviously, I cover Russia, Ukraine a bit, US politics a little bit as well because of everything's intrinsically linked. But my main focus is like geopolitics in terms of from the Middle East. Now, what's actually happened is, you obviously know about the genocide that happened in Gaza. Israel went into Gaza. They said they had two objectives. The two main objectives they told us was that they wanted to eradicate Hamas and they wanted to get the hostages returned. Now, the argument is, and the argument I'm professing is that they've actually not succeeded in both of those objectives. They haven't got the hostages back and they haven't dismantled all of Hamas, and yet they've laid waste to Gaza. According to the Gaza Ministry of Health, they say there's around 40,000 people dead. both I'm in agreement with the Israelis on that one. I think those numbers aren't accurate. Lancet predicts it at 180,000. Another paper predicted it at possibly 600,000. I think the numbers are huge. It could be anything between 180 to 600,000. So significant amount of casualties, deaths, and losses, irrespective of how you see it.
So you think we 180,000 dead in Gaza?
Yeah. Yeah. That's Lancet did basically a predictor and said, based on the fact that if you look at the way the war, or the way the genocide has occurred, the way that the people have died, the fact that the entire infrastructure has been destroyed, the fact that it's a very condensed, concentrated area, there'll be huge amount of people who will be dead, have not been found under the rubble. So they made a calculation based on all of those and said that likely number is probably around 160, 180,000.
Wow. And for those that are unaware, I mean, Gaza is a very small strip. It's what, like maybe a mile in length or width?
It's basically extremely small. They say it's as big as New Jersey, so it's very, very tiny. It's not big at all. And you've basically got that level of bombing going on,
and it's 2 million people.
Bombs. Sorry,
and it's only like 2 million people in a highly concentrated area.
2.3 million. That's 2. Right, in a highly concentrated area for sure. So, and then you've got these extreme advanced bombs being basically bombarded there, 2,000-ton bombs. You've got bunker buster bombs. You had significant amount of different types of missiles and artilleries. So what happened is you've obviously got that happening in Gaza. Now Hezbollah, there was also a front that was happening in Hezbollah, which is that you basically had, now Israelis claim that Hezbollah started it on October the 8th, which is obviously fake news and propaganda, because it essentially where Hezbollah fired on was something called Sheba Farms. Sheba Farms is disputed territory. It's actually claimed by the Syrians and Lebanese. They both basically dispute whose it is.
Sheba
the only
Farms.
People in the world. Sorry,
you said Sheba Farms is disputed territory, and you're saying that this this conflict between Israel and Lebanon and Hezbollah, who represents Lebanon in this case, you're saying it started with Sheba Farms?
Yeah, because on October the 8th, basically Hezbollah fired on Sheba Farms, right?
Okay.
And what is Sheba Farms? So Israel are claiming that they fired at Israel, but when you look at it, they didn't. They fired on Sheba Farms. Sheba Farms is essentially an area that is disputed between Syria and Lebanon. Nobody in the world says it's Israeli territory, other than maybe Israelis in their own mind. So that claim of basically Hezbollah starting on October the 8th is fake, is what I'm saying, because you'll be hearing a lot of that over the next weeks, months, and I'm just giving you guys the ammunition to basically fight back against that claim.
Okay, so their argument is Hezbollah fired at Sheba Farms, which they claim is Israeli territory, but you're saying it's not Israeli territory. It's actually, I guess, unincorporated land.
It's basically disputed land between Syria and Lebanon. Now, they don't even say Sheba Farms. They'll just say they fired at Israel. They won't even talk about Sheba Farms. It's up to you guys to talk about Sheba Farms when you're basically refuting them.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Sheba is called Sheba Farms.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, continue on, brother.
So then there was a conflict between, you basically got northern Israel and southern Lebanon were basically, fighting amongst each other. And in that regard, because it's a fight on the ground, Hezbollah were dominating. So and this Israelis don't deny. Hezbollah were dominating to such an extent, and I mentioned this in your previous stream, that they are now it's really relevant, that they basically pushed the Israelis back in a significant manner, to the extent where they had dismantled a number of settlements, they had dismantled a number of military bases, and they'd basically removed about 600,000 settlers from that area.
Okay.
From northern Israel.
Okay. So 600,000 or 60,000? I heard 60,000.
It could be. I'm sure it's 600,000, but I can double check the numbers.
Okay.
You could be right on that, but I thought it was 600,000.
Okay.
Because I remember thinking, wow, that's a huge.
Or are you talking about the war back in 2006 right now?
No, I'm talking about since October the 8th till now.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And then what happened was, so you've got a significant amount of displacement. You've got a significant amount of domination that's happening from Hezbollah. And in terms of Hezbollah, obviously Israel has been striking them from the air. So what Israel has over Hezbollah is air superiority.
Yeah.
So
Very
as an
good Air
example,
Force.
you know about the... Sorry?
I know. I was going to say they have a very good Air Force and they got a great intelligence program.
Yeah, exactly. And so but Hezbollah doesn't have an air force, so they have basically the superiority in that regard that they don't even have an air force. Now, what happened is, as you know, I think I was on your show at that time as well, is they bombed and killed the second guy in Hezbollah, Haj Mohsen, at that time, and then recently they've killed a number of the Hezbollah leadership.
Yeah, I can actually go through here on my list. Go.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And then about a week ago, then they did the major pager attack, which is that initially we thought they'd intercepted these pagers and made them into explosives. But later we found out that these were basically created as explosives from inception.
Yes.
Now, why that's important is anytime we're using devices now, they could literally have mechanisms in there to use explosives against us. Just think about that. Think about the highly problematic nature of that. We could all have devices. Let's say Israel wanted to take out, for example, London. They could basically ensure that we've all got devices and those devices get blown up. So that's highly problematic. So the first day, they basically blew up pages. And the second day was a number of different types of electronic devices. So those were the first 2 days where they basically perpetuated a number of attacks.
Okay.
And then
No, you're good. Keep going.
Yeah, and then after that, you basically they were bombing Beirut, and they continued bombing Beirut day after day after day, a significant manner. And again, Beirut, as I mentioned in your previous stream when I came on here, is a significantly dense area, highly populated, multi-religion. So, for example, there's about 30 to 35% Christians who live in Beirut. You've got the Druze community there, you've got the Muslims. So basically highly different ethnicities, different religions, different races, extreme high nightlife, very modern city like London or New York. So they're bombing that. Mm-hmm. So you had a number of casualties. So in this week, you had more people die than the entire Lebanon war. So in 2006, when basically Israel and Lebanon had a fight and Lebanon won, this is agreed upon by the US State Department. In that war, they only had 1,000 to 1,200 deaths from the Lebanese side. So in this week, from the bombing in the air, there's been more deaths in Lebanon than even at that time.
Wow.
So that's what happened now. And then obviously we know the major thing that happened was you basically had an attack where they took out the entire leadership, not the entire, but a large proportion of the leadership of Hezbollah. You had them kill the actual leader of Hezbollah, which was major news. They killed Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, who has been the leader of Hezbollah for 32 years. He came in power in 1992, and he's the one who was the leader when they defeated Israel in 2006. And then they and then now he basically died. So he's been a very important leader. The person they believe who's going to be the person who replaces him is his cousin, which is Hashim Safieddine. And in his regard, they consider him, again, someone who's a lot more offensive, a lot more aggressive, a lot more, more of an offensive leader. So as an example, after the killing of Haj Mohsen, Hashim Safieddine actually wanted them to do a direct attack on Tel Aviv.
Yep.
Whereas Hassan Nasrallah basically rejected that proposal and wanted to go with something a bit more limited. So that's an example of the difference in psychology. Some would argue that in this offensive war, maybe that's what's needed.
So, and I just sent you guys a tweet in the Miami Takeover, and I kind of want to bring the audience's attention to this. I can send you the link real quick too, so you can read along with me, Sulaiman. Basically, in it, I go into and I kind of outline some of the things that have happened, right? So we got on September 24th, 2024, Hassan Nasrallah, the top Hezbollah leader, was killed, right? He was bombed in Beirut with a bunker buster. Then you got Ibrahim Akil. He was the number 2. in Hezbollah to replace Shukr. He was killed on September 20th, 2024. And then Fuad Shukr, he was number 2 before Akil took over. He was Nasrallah's military advisor. He was killed on July 30th, 2024. Also, they killed Ismail Haniyeh pretty much on the same day, head of the Hamas political wing. They killed him on 7/31 in Tehran, Iran. A huge embarrassment for Iran, by the way, right? So, this is also on top of endless bombing and conflict in Gaza, the West Bank, southern Lebanon towns, and even its capital city of Beirut, right? And then to add insult to injury, this comes days after Israel launched an intel operation that blew up hundreds of pagers Hezbollah members owned. The attack killed 20 people, including 3 children. Thousands were injured. What is the body count now? At last time I think we spoke, it was at like 600. What's it at now in Lebanon?
The last time I checked, it was 1,500. But like as an example, there's been over 70 some deaths today, so the numbers just increasing every day.
And I kind of bring this, guys, and I tweeted that out days ago, guys, obviously. But the reason why I want to put that out there is that this is the biggest escalation I've ever seen of Israel killing Axis power leaders that I've ever seen. I remember back in 2020, right, when Trump killed Soleimani. That was a big deal, right? They got the intel, they tracked his phone, they killed him in Iraq. Big deal. To this day, Trump still takes credit for that, right? But no one, but literally, they've killed like 4 or 5 Soleimanis in just a few months. Israel has, right? And then on top of that, they bombed Yemen yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't they? Since they did an airstrike in Yemen?
Yeah, they did an airstrike in Yemen. They basically bombed Hudayba port. They bombed oil refineries, and they bombed a couple of other locations. And again, a number of people died. I believe it was 9 people who died and about 50 injured.
So, chat, does this all make sense to you guys? Because I know we're kind of moving fast here. Give me ones if this all makes sense. Give me twos if it doesn't. If it doesn't make sense, give me twos as to why, and we can go back and explain it. But in general, after October 7th happened, the next day, Hezbollah and Israel got in a conflict with, sending missiles, etc. And this was kind of to destabilize the IDF because the IDF was waging a war in Gaza. And Hezbollah, being allies of Gaza and Iran and Syria, etc., they were like, hey, we're going to go ahead and spread the forces because you can't, if Hezbollah is going to launch a front in the north, well, IDF, you have to deploy IDF resources over there as well as the IDF resources in Gaza, right? So they're operating from a support angle against Israel. So, okay, let me see here in the chat. All right, cool. All right. Besides trolls,
yeah, there's some trolls.
They understand. All right, fair enough. So Sulaiman, take us to what's went down today. Then what's been going on? Obviously, you've been covering it extensively. We can go hour by hour, or however you feel best to describe. Because today there's been a lot. I mean, between Bibi's in meeting with the war cabinet and them approving a ground invasion. You could go through it however you like.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, I came on your show last week, I believe, and I think you asked me like the possibility of a ground invasion.
Yes.
I thought my position was that it was highly unlikely, and the reason for that is because based on what happened in 2006, based on the fact that if you're going to be on a ground offensive, it's not going to be easy against Hezbollah, and I'll explain why in a second, but then I'll go through what's happened hour by hour. But because of the difficulties of the ground invasion, I thought basically Israel would not do a ground invasion because you essentially have a scenario where I do believe that would give the Hezbollah an opportunity to basically go at their scale. You're basically having a terrain that they know really well and a region that they know very well. They can basically ambush in certain scenarios. They can attack in different ways. They can use guerrilla warfare, and you start seeing a lot of Israelis
and
go back.
The defensive army always has the advantage when you invade. The invaders don't have an advantage.
No doubt about it. Like my position's always been, I think I've said this, that in modern history, like no offensive army has basically generally won. You look at Vietnam, you look at Iraq, you look at Afghanistan, they're not able to succeed over a long time, or even sometimes in short time. You see Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like people say Russia are winning, but they're not being able to take over the whole of Ukraine, or even a decent amount. It's been 3 years now. So
Yeah.
it's not easy for an offensive army.
They've taken a quarter of what they wanted.
Yeah, exactly. In addition to that, just to give you an example of the 2006 war.
Yeah.
So basically, you had a scenario where even according to the analysis of the U.S. State Department, they said the Israeli army was unprepared and unable and unwilling to fight a real war. And they made a number of mistakes in that time. And I'll explain. And the issue is when you say, well, why are you talking about the 2006 mistakes, Sulaiman? Of course, in 18 years, they're going to be able to learn from their mistakes and improve. The problem is that some of the strategies that they deployed in 2006 in Lebanon, they've been deploying in Gaza. And Gaza, the Hamas army or the Hamas military or group isn't as good as the Hezbollah one, isn't numerically big. Because, for example, if Hassan Nasrallah's claims about Hezbollah's army numbers are true, then it means that they have more numbers than even Israeli soldiers, which is definitely not the case for Hamas. Now, what they did was they basically one of the mistakes they made is when the army vehicle was going through, you would basically send infantry scouts to look at different things that were happening ahead to basically protect it, to ensure. But the problem, what you saw in the 2006 Lebanon war, as well as in Gaza, was they weren't doing that. So there was no security or no protection for their tanks. That's why if you saw some of the videos that were coming out on social media, you'd see some of the tanks get hit, some of the tanks get blown up, and really that shouldn't be happening when you've got that level of domination. Remember, Israel is more superior in terms of their weaponry, in terms of their
they use our weapons.
Sorry,
they use our weapons. That's why their stuff is so good.
Yeah, they have extreme superiority. Like, they're dominant in that regard, without a doubt. And so you basically didn't have no infantry scouts to protect the armor vehicles. It was significantly problematic. Now, these armor vehicles or these, they can go over any terrain. So you don't have any issues. So they can go over most terrains. You know, there's only one thing that these vehicles have a huge problem of going over. And you saw that in Gaza, rubble. So if they're going to use the strategy, which for them would be a very good strategy because Hezbollah don't have that, which is to do strikes from the air, you then have a problem where your armor vehicles are going to be stuck and not being able to move it. And if you saw in Gaza, they've been using bulldozers to clear the way for the armored vehicles. They won't be able to do that in Lebanon. So there's going to be a lot of things that they've deployed in Gaza that were highly problematic that just are not going to work in Lebanon, and they didn't work in Lebanon 2006. Does that make it clear in terms of some of the concerns I had, why I thought that they're going to have some problems going in?
Yeah. I mean, they tried in 2006 and lost with superior weaponry and support. So they'd be like, you know what? Let's rely more on our intel agencies. Let's rely more on our Air Force. Let's kind of try to stay away from boots on the ground. Obviously, we're wrapping up another conflict in Gaza. Guys are tired. Like, you wouldn't think that they would turn around and do like almost immediately. Done with Rafah? Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do a ground assault into Lebanon, which they call the unlimited ground assault, right? They're saying that they're not going to go that far in and stuff like that. But, what did Putin said the same thing, right? Oh, yeah, it's going to be a special military operation. 3 years later, still there, right? Or 2 years later in this case, almost 3 years later. So, okay. So take us through what's went down today. Obviously, we've been talking about Tel Aviv. We've been talking about this ground assault, etc. I think apparently there's already skirmishes going on right now as we speak.
Yeah, so that, I mean, just to finish that point up or wrap it up, that's why I think, and this is relevant to you, that's why I think that there is a high probability, and I think a lot of military experts who aren't just from the pro-Israeli side, I agree with me that there is a high likelihood that America is going to have to put boots on the ground if they do basically go. I mean, we know they've already done it, so I think there is a more high likelihood that America put boots on the ground.
Yeah.
So what happened today was we basically saw a buildup of military vehicles, Israeli vehicles and tanks at the border. And so this was reported about 9 hours ago. There was an unprecedented amount of buildup of Israeli vehicles and tanks on the other side of the border. It was opposite Wazani. So you saw that initially. So we knew that's it. Like, the invasion is coming. They're about to start it. Then the land invasion began. At the same time, you basically had it while the invasion was beginning. You as part of it, they were basically perpetuating heavy artillery shelling, targeting areas very close to the border, starting from the Khiam plain, passing through Wazani, and reaching the heights of Kafar Shuba. So they were basically using that and then doing intensive reconnaissance.
Let me see
so
if I can pull up a map. I'm going to pull up a map of Lebanon real quick so we can show these to the people. Can we pull up a map real quick, Bills, and kind of show the audience what we're talking about here? Continue on, Sulaiman. I'm sorry. You said it's where on the border specifically? The skirmishes are going on?
So it's the Khiam plain, which is basically near Wazani.
Okay, so I got a map
Kafar
up
Shuba.
right now. Let's see here. So we're looking here. You said, say it again, Zahali?
Wazani. Wazzani.
Okay, W. So
What province is it near?
what Mo's asking what province is it near so we can kind of show the people. Go back south. Go south, Bills, because it's towards the border of Israel.
Okay.
Kafar Shuba.
Let's see. Move it more to the right. Now you're in Israel, pretty much.
Okay,
Scroll up. Yeah, I don't. Hey, guys, don't make fun of Bills, man.
And what did you say,
He's not familiar with this
Sulaiman?
part
It
of the
was near what province?
Wazani, which is Kafar Shuba.
Qatar.
Oh, you can move it down a bit more, I think.
So in the, like, if you look at the map, it's kind of, I would say, it's basically northeast of the southern part.
Northeast of the southern part. Okay.
Can you see Kiryat Shimona towards the right of that?
We see Rachi, Anahar.
Scroll down a little bit.
Scroll down more.
Oh, you guys can't see what I'm pointing, but it's like, yeah, put your arrow down a bit more. Just go down south, like south, like.
We see Rachaya.
No, it's much lower than this.
Okay,
it's like
keep
south.
going
You
more.
need to scroll it, like push it up, push the map up, but you go down.
Okay, we see Chiba, Hasbaya, Marehun,
Abush.
Chaim.
Can you see Can you see where Mount Hermon is?
Yes.
Go down more.
Okay.
Can you see where Metula is?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you see where Kiryat Shimona is?
Yes.
There it is now. Can you
Yes.
see it? So where Kiryat Shimona is, you know where Metula is? Just to the right of that. So.
Okay. Oh, Wazani.
So
Boom.
it's
We see it.
Wazani, yeah,
we see it.
on
Boom.
the,
Okay.
Yeah, where Metula
We
is.
got it.
Yes, sir.
All right, we
Yes,
got it.
sir.
So this is
About,
where.
about 110 degrees from Metula. basically.
Okay, so basically Wazani is where a lot of the
You can
conflict.
see it there now.
Yeah, we can see it. So this is where a lot of the conflict is going.
So that's where they've basically invaded from.
Gotcha.
Ah.
Okay. Okay. Why there in particular? Is there any like military strategic reason why they're going in through there?
Yeah, I mean, the reason is because the terrain is more amiable to where they need to go. Because that is, if you can see, the Israeli part is the most northern part of essentially Israel before it touches the Lebanese border. If you look, it's a lot more like this. The most northern part you can get to essentially.
Okay, I see. Yeah, it looks like one of the most northern. Okay, I see what you mean. Okay. So they're coming in through there, and then also you said that the land is bearable where they can actually make it in there versus like the other parts.
It's basically because the terrain's going to be very difficult. Remember, a lot of South Lebanon is mountainous.
Okay.
And so it's not going to be easy. Like what I'm saying, by the way, when I'm saying this, I'm not saying definitely Israel is going to lose. I'm just giving you the other perspective because obviously from the Israeli perspective, it is that, look, this is a much more stronger army. It's battle ready after what they've done in Gaza. They have dominated in Gaza. It's unlike Hezbollah, although Hezbollah would argue that they are battle ready as well, because remember, they fought against ISIS. But the difference is fighting against ISIS isn't the same as fighting against the Israeli army with their modern weapons, their modern warfare, and the kind of training that they've received as well.
Yep.
So just so people see it from both perspectives.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So they're coming in through there, and do we know? So there's as we're speaking right now, me and you sitting here speaking right now, they're fighting here in this area.
Oh yeah. There's a huge amount of skirmishes. There's a report, and remember, some of these reports you got to take with a bit of grain of salt, even if it's coming from the Israeli side. or even if it's coming from the Hezbollah side. But for example, in the Hezbollah side, we saw, for example, from the Hezbollah side, I read that they basically did an ambush in a certain area. We know, so that was the claim from Hezbollah. The claim is that basically Israel is basically going to target up to the Litani River, the outskirts of Zatua. So there's kind of like difference of opinion in terms of how far they're going to go, because they're claiming, like they did in Gaza, we don't want to go to South Lebanon and occupy it completely, and for basically occupy it completely. We're going to go there and we're going to come back. But then remember, when they basically went into Gaza, they said the exact same thing. They said, look, we don't want Gaza. We're just going to go in and come out. And now the whole story has changed. And now they're like, yeah, actually, we're going to take it. We never, ever said that we weren't. So that's essentially where I do believe that they probably will try to take it. Because if you look at the Greater Israel Project, it means Gaza, they've taken that. West Bank, they've essentially taken that now. They've slowly taken that. South Lebanon, they're going to end up taking that. North of Saudi, they'll probably have a deal in Saudi. They'll probably give them the northern part of that. And then Syria. So essentially, the Greater Israel Project is in full flow. And South Lebanon is probably the biggest difficult obstacle for them to do that. So once they take that, they're all in for it.
Okay. What do you think? How do you think Hezbollah is? Obviously, they're fighting with them now. Hezbollah, you said it ambushed a unit in the IDF. We don't have casualties yet, but I'm assuming we're going to be getting these within the next 24 to 48 hours. What do you think the next move is in here? Are we going to potentially see Iran intervention? Are they too scared because of U.S. being dragged in? If they come in, what do you think is going to come from the other Axis powers here, as far as like assisting this ground invasion, if any?
Yeah, so in terms of, first of all, deaths, what you mentioned, we'll probably never get an accurate reflection, because Israelis won't tell the truth about their deaths and Hezbollah won't about their deaths. Both sides won't be completely overtly honest about it, because you don't want your army to lose hope. You don't want them to start, considering not fighting. That'd be a huge risk, especially even more so with the Israeli army.
Yep.
Because in 2006, according to the U.S. State Department analysis, that was the argument, that the army kind of was basically unwilling at certain points to fight as well. Now, in terms of Iranian involvement, I think that's I think it's unlikely. And the reason I say that is because Iran, if they were to get involved, they know that basically you're essentially guaranteeing U.S. involvement. Mm-hmm. Iran on themselves would, in my view, defeat Israel. But then this is why Israel would need the U.S., NATO, some of the Arab nations to help them out. And so in that regard, it's going to become very difficult for Iran. And then Iran needs, like, in that situation, Iran works out, like, what are we going to do? Are we going to basically risk fighting? Because irrespective of if you win or lose, your economy just gets completely destroyed. I just take you back to in the 80s, Iran and Iraq, the second best and fourth best economy in the Middle East, flourishing, doing really well. They basically go to war with each other and both economies are destroyed. In the end, when you go into war, generally speaking, it doesn't matter. Your economy is destroyed. And so with Iran, because they're in an upward trend, they don't want that to happen, where they basically go back to becoming like the Iraq or becoming like Syria or becoming like a very weakened nation, even if they were to win. Yeah. So you can see they're very basically pulling back on trying to basically go into war. You saw that with the fact that the embassy bombing, they basically they kind of choreographed it. They let everybody, they broadcast it and let everybody know. You saw with the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in their land, which is huge embarrassment. Yeah. There's not been any response. The claim that came out recently, just yesterday, was that the Iranian president was given assurances that if they don't avenge the death of Ismail Haniyeh, there's a guaranteed ceasefire, which didn't happen. But I think that might be a bit of an excuse, but that's the position they're taking at the moment.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is, from this, it seems to me as though there's no way that, Hezbollah can't make an aggressive, they invaded their country now. So they're going to have to take an aggressive stance to some degree, whether it's them or Yemen or Iran. They're going to have to do something to retaliate. Because to me, I look like, it seems to me when I listen to Netanyahu speak about this, he looks at it like, I'm going to finish the job. Hezbollah is never going to shoot another rocket at us ever again. Is the position it seems that he's coming from? What's your take on that?
I agree. I think he knows that if he was to give Israelis what they wanted, which is Greater Israel, or give them a very large part of getting Greater Israel, he'll be remembered in history for that, first of all, in a very positive light. And then a lot of these legal actions that have been taken against him, either they'll probably be dropped or they'll balance out with this kind of move that he's done. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, as we know, a protracted war will stop him from again facing the courts, facing the trial for his actions as well, and for his financial the claims of financial impropriety that he's done. So I mean, from Netanyahu's perspective, I think that is his plan. And I think he believes that by doing that, he will stand in history in a positive light from Israel's perspective.
Okay. So something crazy that I saw that you put out, I actually had to retweet it myself because I was shocked. Explosions in Tel Aviv. What's going on with that?
Yeah. We had two reports that there were two explosions from Israel in Tel Aviv. And apparently one of them was a Yemeni hypersonic missile, which is a significantly powerful missile. We heard this explosion, but again, the thing with Israelis they're very good at not allowing videos out. That was actually one of the
containing
statements
news.
That they. Sorry.
Yeah, it said they're good at containing news, is what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. They're good at not letting information out. Good at containing news. You saw that, for example, when the Israelis start invading, when the invasion happened, the first broadcast that went out to Israelis was, "Do not take images, do not take videos of anything and put it out there because you're going to let the enemy know about what's happening and that's going to hurt us." So you can see Israelis, in a sense, a lot of them are supportive. They are kind of like a monolith and to an extent where they don't want to risk the lives of their own soldiers. And so for that reason, again, we're not going to see many videos. So from the Israeli perspective, we've not seen the videos come out about that. At this exact moment as well, just to let your audience know, they're not just doing that. They're bombing Beirut. The bombing in Beirut, if you look at my page, was significant. It was very more localized. So, for example, the bombing in Beirut before was the Dahya region, which is the southern suburb of Beirut. But now they've even hit the central of Beirut as well today. They've bombed that in a significant manner. They bombed Damascus, Syria in a significant manner today. They also bombed Yemen yesterday. And also, obviously, Gaza. It's almost like we almost don't even say it anymore, unfortunately. But they're bombing Gaza. There's been a significant amount of deaths in Gaza as well.
Every day they're bombing Gaza still.
Exactly. In a significant, ferocious manner. There's a huge amount of deaths today as well.
Holy crap. So on the Gaza side, we're looking at anywhere from 40,000 all the way to, they're saying 600K dead because of obviously people buried under the rubble. We have a lot of missing people. Obviously, they're not confirmed dead, but we have a lot of missing people, right? Then Yemen was just bombed by Israel yesterday. Do we have a death count over there or no?
Yemen, yes, we do. So from the top of my head, I believe it was 9 dead and 30 to 50 injured, but I just can't remember the exact figures.
Okay.
I can check on my page, but I just can't remember the exact figures.
And then we know in Lebanon now, as we speak, 1,500 dead.
Yeah.
Do we know?
With 70 something today as well to add to that.
Oh, wow. So we're up to almost 1,600. Do we know how many of those people were Hezbollah fighters versus innocent people?
No, we don't. We don't know. I know they have hit a number of Hezbollah fighters. How many? I can't really guess, but yeah, some of them definitely were Hezbollah fighters.
Gotcha. Do we know how many women and children at least, or no?
We don't. So when the figures were at 500, there were 35 children. So if we were to extrapolate, one would think maybe a couple of hundred children have probably been killed, 100 to 200 children, but we don't know the exact number.
Yeah. And this is from, I'm assuming, Beirut and southern Lebanon? The casualties?
Yeah. Basically, the entire casualties are for the entirety of Lebanon. So both southern Lebanon and Beirut.
Wow. Man, okay. Well, Sulaiman, what do you think is going to happen? So what do you predict is going to happen now? So obviously, there's been a bunch of escalations, right? Israel has assassinated top-ranking members from Hamas, from Hezbollah, They're now leading a ground assault as we speak right now and having this conversation. There's a skirmish going on in southern Lebanon. Israel's officially invaded. We got 1,500 dead. Some of those being Hezbollah fighters and some of them being innocent people. People are dying in Gaza every single day. Obviously, some Yemenis were killed yesterday with the airstrike. What do you think is going to come next from this, man? What, like, in general, give us like a summary of what you think is going to happen. And then also we got bombs going off in Tel Aviv.
Of course. So what I think will happen is they'll continue to bomb Gaza, obviously. They'll continue to bomb certain parts of Beirut, maybe even Damascus, Syria. But in terms of specifically Lebanon, what I see tomorrow is I think there'll be small movement. I think because what's going to happen, in my view, is Hezbollah is going to let them come in at least a couple of kilometers, maybe even 2 to 4 kilometers in. I don't think they're going to try and basically, other than smallly, like, you know, when you'll attack to a small extent from certain angles, just to find out what the response method, the angles of response, what kind of mode of response you're going to do, where they take cover, and so on and so forth. So they'll do that, but generally there won't be anything significant. You'll also see, in my view, possibly at some point there'll be air attacks as well. And this is where I said that I think there may be a problem in terms of getting them armored vehicles over. And so if you don't do the air attacks, then you're going mano a mano on the ground. I think that's too risky for the Israelis. But then if you do the air attacks, you got the issue with moving the armored vehicles. So there's going to be, I'm going to be interested to see what strategy they deploy, because I can see the problems with both strategies. And then I think not tomorrow, but the day after, I think there's going to be significant amount of maybe engagement between them. So at least not tomorrow, but maybe over the next day, that next day or the day after, then we'll start to see some significant engagement between the two forces, and that's going to be, for me, what I'm interested in seeing. Obviously, I want peace, right? But like what I'm interested in seeing is the mode by which they use the air superiority, because remember, Hezbollah don't have an air force, so that's going to be interesting how they use it.
Yeah, holy man. What do you think retaliation is going to be like back against Israel? You're saying now, because just so the audience understands, there's been like little missiles here and there that have been shot into Tel Aviv, that most of them have been shot down. Some of them have landed, done some minor damage here or there. But I don't think we have any like real casualties in Israel, right?
Yeah, there's no casualties in Israel, because when they basically send missiles into Israel, generally speaking, except for the one today, we need to see if there was anything from that. But generally speaking, you've got basically Israel do have interceptor missiles and do have things that stop it. But on top of that, they've got the David Sling, and then they've got the Iron Dome. But also what happens is missiles do get through, but then you see that Hezbollah's targets generally are military bases. So, for example, the military base in Elia has been hit a number of times. So they have had missiles that get through. But what that shows us is that basically Hezbollah, the target is actually military bases as opposed to humans. Now, there's another important, why humans is important is because what we saw in Lebanon by the Israelis and what they deploy all the time is the Dahiya doctrine. And what the Dahiya doctrine is, and it's highly probable that they'll do this, especially if they start struggling in the war, is where they intentionally bomb civilian areas, create the most amount of damage. And by the way, the Dahiya doctrine is only used by Israel. No other army in history or currently ever use it, because they see it as inhumane, and it basically doesn't achieve the actual goals that you're trying to do. But what that is basically you bomb a region or an area with a huge amount of population of humans and kill as many people as possible. And by doing that, your hope is that the people turn against the leadership, because they say, look, a lot of our people are dying. It's like, for example, Hezbollah's fault, and that they turn against them. So the Dahiya doctrine is something that is applied by Israel, and there is a high chance that they will do that.
Okay, so you're saying that Israel will go ahead and bomb a place that's heavily populated with civilians to get the adversarial government to be almost ousted by the people.
Exactly, to get everyone to turn against Hezbollah, because remember, Like with Lebanon, it's very like weird situation where you've got a wide range of views. So you have people who are
you know
pro
what?
Hezbollah.
Let's actually explain that to the people. Holy shit, we should have explained this from the beginning. So so there's Hezbollah, but then they also have their own Lebanon army, and then they have a parliament. So let's explain that to the people because some people might not understand the politics of Lebanon and why there's a little bit of divide.
Yeah. So the Lebanese army is different to Hezbollah. And so this is the problem people have with the Lebanese army, because the Lebanese army was there to essentially secure the border, which they've not been able to do. And the Lebanese army, we had reports today that they retreated at the site of Israelis' offensive maneuvers.
Wow.
Which again, people have a problem with that, because irrespective of whether they agree with Hezbollah or not, one assumes that your army would protect your land. So that's what's happened there.
Yeah.
In terms of Lebanon itself, in terms of the parliament, because remember, Hezbollah is part of the political movement as well. It's not just a military movement.
And Nasrallah was the political face, wasn't he? He wasn't even the military guy. Wasn't he the political face?
He was both. He was both.
Okay.
And so basically, you had a scenario where in the elections, in the fair and free elections, you basically had Hezbollah get the most votes. They didn't get the majority of the votes, but they got the most votes. And that's because there was such diversity of like people voting for different people within the elections. You didn't have a majority. So even Hezbollah, with all of their allies, only gets about 40-something% of the parliament. And you need about 50% of the parliament to basically put a prime minister or president in place. And that's why in Lebanon, they've still not been able to put a president in, nor Hezbollah or nor the opponents, because neither one of them has got the 50%. That's in terms of a parliamentary perspective. But then people need to understand Lebanon from a Lebanese perspective, in the sense of what is the psychology. So you basically have a wide range of views within Lebanon. You first of all have people who are pro-Hezbollah and anti-Israel. Those are very clear. They basically don't like Israel. They see them as an evil entity. And then they are pro-Hezbollah. Then you have people who are for resistance, but not Hezbollah, but are anti-Israel. That is, again, a slightly smaller number than the ones who are pro-Hezbollah, right? So you want resistance, you want to resist against Israel, but you don't like the way or mode of the way Hezbollah does it, either because of sectarian reasons, or you don't agree with the actions that happen in Syria, or a wide range of reasons. So you say you believe you should resist, but you don't believe Hezbollah should be the resistance.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
And then you basically have people who are basically Lebanese nationalists. And what they are is they believe in Lebanese sovereignty. They don't want Iran's control over Lebanon through Hezbollah, but they're also still anti-Israel.
Okay.
And so you've got that group. And then you have a group who is basically, again, pro-Lebanese, you would say, to an extent, but is pro-Israel.
Yeah.
The last group is extremely small. The vast majority of people, even if they're anti-Hezbollah, are anti-Israel. So if Israel goes into Lebanon in a significant manner, and I mean by basically going much into southern Lebanon, taking a decent proportion of it, getting maybe past the Litani River, in that situation, I think that would unite the entire Lebanese people to fight against Hezbollah.
Gotcha.
I mean, fight against, Israel.
Israel.
At the moment, it's mainly going to be, Hezbollah who are going to be fighting.
Gotcha. Yeah. So people that even, because I heard this on some of the spaces, even people that don't like Hezbollah were like, well, the Lebanese army isn't fucking standing up. So it's like, what the hell? Right. And I think it's very important for the audience to understand that this is kind of a weird situation where you got a country that has two different militaries, right? That have different viewpoints. And is there even like a supreme leader in Lebanon? Do they have they don't have a prime minister, right? They have like two different factions.
So they've got a prime minister. The prime minister is they haven't got a leader really. the current like designated prime minister, but not the elected leader because they weren't able to get a parliamentary agreement,
Yeah.
is somebody who is friendly to Hezbollah, so he agrees with them.
Okay. Does he have ultimate power though?
No, I mean, this is the problem. In Lebanon, nobody has ultimate power.
Okay.
So you'd say the most powerful people within Lebanon are probably Hezbollah, and hence why they're going to be fighting against Israel.
Gotcha. And they don't even have ultimate power. They have a portion because they got a seat at the parliament. Okay, I see what you mean. Very interesting. How a lot of these different countries run their governments, right? Because of like strong disagreements on Israel. It seems like to me like Israel's like one of the bigger dividing factors as to why. Well, it's a uniting factor, but how they deal with Israel, I guess, is where they divide.
For sure. And what's going to be interesting is, because remember, you're going to have Hezbollah fighting Israel, but then you're going to have a scenario where the Lebanese army won't be fighting Israel. Now, there will be a situation, like I said, that if they get too far in, that then I think the Lebanese army and Hezbollah could unite.
Okay.
But that just depends on the actions of Israel.
So verified, Lebanese army individuals personnel saw Israel coming and literally ran. That's crazy. That's literally crazy.
They retreated. They retreated because their job is to protect the border. Their argument is going to be that their job was to protect the border based on UN Resolution 1701, I believe it is, from the top of my head. I could get the number. I may have got the number wrong.
Okay.
But if their job is to protect the border and to ensure that Hezbollah don't be at the border and to ensure that Israel don't penetrate the border. And basically, based on that UN resolution, obviously that's not happened. There's been a significant amount of action between the two parties since October the 8th. Mm-hmm. And this time, when Israel have come to the border, they've retreated. They've retreated more inland. So, I mean, it's kind of bad. In my view, it's not great to see that irrespective of whether you disagree or agree with Hezbollah, your nation is your nation. If anybody impedes on your physical sovereignty,
you'll
be able to stand and fight. And so I don't agree with the actions in that regard as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy that they came in and they retreated. So what do you think is going to happen here, man? What's your? We kind of had to explain to the audience real quick. We didn't get into it too much. What do you think is going to happen from here? Because we had to explain to the people how Lebanon government system kind of works.
Yeah, so I think over tomorrow is going to be minor incursions. There'll be minor interaction between the two parties in the method that I explained. Over the next few days, I think that's when because I think Hezbollah is going to allow them to get in at least 2 to 4 kilometers.
Okay. And
I think that in that scenario, that's when you're going to start seeing Hezbollah try and basically ambush them in certain scenarios, use guerrilla warfare, try and use the terrain. Israel, on the other hand, is going to obviously use reconnaissance, use air superiority. I mean, personally, I still hold my opinion that I think over a certain period of time, after a few weeks, maybe a month, I think Israel is going to start losing a lot of lives. I think Hezbollah is going to lose lives as well. I think both sides are going to lose lives. It's going to be different to what's happened in Gaza. I think with Hezbollah, I think their psychology is that they are basically already ready to basically die. Mm-hmm. And so therefore, when they lose a life, I think psychologically it's different to when Israeli losing their lives. Yeah. I think if Israelis start seeing their people come back in body bags, I think the Israeli populace will turn on Netanyahu in a significant manner. And I think in that situation, I think America might get involved. And what that means is American boots on the ground, American soldiers risking their lives for Israel, and essentially showing that they are willing to sacrifice their people for a foreign nation.
Wow.
And you know what makes that worse is, remember, this invasion they've done isn't completely with the blessing of America. America didn't want them to do the invasion. And finally, apparently, according to certain reports, but again, this is by with how the media works in America, who controls it. Yeah. But basically, they are saying that now America has agreed to a very minor incursion. But obviously, we know that the incursion isn't going to be minor. So essentially, Americans are going to be forced to lay down their lives for a foreign nation, for a foreign entity, for a war that they did not even agree to.
Yeah. No, I mean, very, very interesting. I mean, I don't see a scenario here where Hezbollah isn't going to have to respond in an aggressive manner and the United States won't come in to assist. I just don't see it. I know you had on one of your spaces earlier, you had a guy, I forget the guy's name. It was something, Daniel something. And he gave analysis on this. Obviously, he's a military strategy expert, etc. What was his take on this? I didn't get a chance because I was on a plane, so I couldn't even hear the whole conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I rate him a lot. Daniel Davis, excellent reporter. Highly recommend him.
Yeah.
Always on the ball, and knows his stuff. His analysis was very similar to mine. That's why I was basically loving it when he was speaking, because I was literally like, that's what I said. That's literally when I came on your show like a week ago.
Yeah.
And I said that, look, I think that Israel is going to struggle on the ground. They're going to start seeing start going to see a lot of people get killed. It's the terrain. Oh, no, all the things I've just mentioned now. I mentioned it last time I came on your show as well. And he was just mentioning the exact same thing. So his position is very similar to my position. I think he thinks ultimately Americans are going to have to get involved to help Israel.
Yeah. Some people are saying there's no chance that U.S. will ever put boots on the ground. I don't think people understand. Chat, look, chat, let me tell y'all something. Are you guys aware that there are American boots on the ground in Gaza? Were you guys aware of that? Like, there were SF guys that got killed in Gaza, guys, that literally got killed in the tunnels by Hamas. And people don't know this because obviously they don't want to report that. But it's come from some reputable sources. I know Colonel McGregor has talked about it, suppressed news, etc. Like, there were American boots on the ground in Gaza, chat. And for some of you guys that don't believe me, they did an operation, right? This actually did hit the news, where Israeli and American forces got together and rescued, how many Israelis did they rescue? This is an operation they did like 2 months ago, right, Sully?
Yeah. So in terms of what you said, I mean, Colonel McGregor is highly reputable. I would definitely follow him. I think suppressed news sometimes a bit of fake news, so you have to just decipher the correct from the fake.
Yeah.
But in terms of what you said, in terms of the Gaza pier, that was basically, it was shocking, right? So this was shocking because on that space, that military guy, the pro-Israeli one, was literally denying American involvement in basically putting the pier together when it's literally in the Department of Defense page.
I said Connor. I said Colonel McGregor. I'm sorry, Colonel McGregor. Did I say Connor? Guys, sorry, I didn't sleep, man. I'm really tired. Sorry, keep going, brother.
I thought you said Colonel McGregor.
Yeah, Colonel McGregor. I think I said Colonel
yeah,
too.
It is 6 a.m. here as well, almost 5:30. So basically, so it's shocking because what they did was they built that pier. They claimed it was going to be food. That pier was basically constructed by American soldiers with the help of Israeli engineers.
Yep.
They constructed it. They put it together. It basically moved away from the pier, from the land. They put it back together. They claimed it was for humanitarian aid. They did put some in humanitarian aid, but then it was used really for an Israeli operation to get boots on the ground, to get out 4 hostages while they killed 200 human beings.
Yeah.
And so that's essentially what the pier was used. And as soon as they got those 4 people out, one of them being what's the name again? Noah Argamani.
Yeah.
And the others, they basically don't even use the pier anymore. So that whole pier was used in reality. Now we know for that. American boots even were on the ground for that. And I was just shocked that Israelis were denying that on the space. That's why when they were speaking to you, I had to jump in and say, like, what are you talking about? It's literally on the Department of Defense website. They don't even deny that they basically had boots on the ground for that.
Yeah. So, like, keep in mind, guys, that, like, the president, the government will always lie to you about what they'll do, and they have little tricks on this. I mean, hell, we had an operator literally say this in a space earlier. Like, what they'll do is they'll say, "Oh, we don't have any combat troops in place," but they have troops in place, and what they do is they designate that guy as an advise and assist role, right? But they're still there. They're still doing operations. They're still killing people. They just have to kind of change a bit how they engage in their role on paper. But the reality is they are still there, okay? But a lot of times politicians will say, oh, I don't have boots on the ground. They're not in combat positions, but they'll still be there in a different role, guys. So make no mistake about it. We already had boots on the ground, American soldiers in Gaza, right? And to be honest with y'all, the IDF is superior to Hamas in almost every way if we're going to look at it from a military perspective. And they still needed American support. So you don't think that they're going to need American support and boots on the ground when they actually fight against a formidable army like Hezbollah? Come on, bro. And they've lost to them in 2006. So just using common sense, American boots are going to have to come on the ground. It might not be draft wide where it's formal, where we're like, we're going to war and everything else like that, like we were able to rally after 9/11. But you're a bit crazy if you don't think that we're going to send in special forces, different recons, and bring them in surreptitiously to help out. Because
I think
it's been
you made a
documented.
golden argument, because what you basically said, and I actually agree with your assessment, is that the boots on the ground are guaranteed. It's just the question is to what level, to what extent, and
To what
which,
level.
what
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah, and I think everyone here in the chat or people that like hear us talk about this, they're thinking like it's gonna be, we're gonna send tens of thousands of American soldiers over there to fight. No, bro, they're gonna do it in a much limited capacity. Like, the American government isn't stupid. They know that Iraq was a failure. They know that most Americans will not accept a ground invasion in a foreign land for war. Netanyahu got us one time saying that there was weapons of mass destruction. The Americans aren't that stupid to vote for a second time. So they know that they'll never be able to get away with it. So what they're going to do is they're going to do it in a way where they're able to kind of shield it from the general public. That's what's going to happen, guys. But there's going to be boots on the ground. There are boots on the ground for fucking Gaza. There are boots on the ground in Ukraine, right? They do it surreptitiously, but they're there, man. They're there. Like, you're crazy if you don't think that there's not American troops in Ukraine assisting with what's going on in Russia. So,
and just to add to that, just think about the amount of money that's been spent. So you saw the billions of aid packages that happened before. They spent $250 million on just to help, and now we know it's just to rescue the hostages, 4 hostages, and kill 200 human beings. And then they've just sent another $8.7 billion. How much do you think more is going to be sent as this incursion in Gaza, in Lebanon continues? Last time it was like 30-something days and they lost. This time it's going to be a lot longer, in my view. So it's going to cost a lot of money, and a lot of American money is going to have to be sent there as well.
Yeah, I think like there's going to be American boots on the ground. I just don't think it'll be on a grand scale like we're used to. I don't think the U.S. government at this point can justify a war with inflation going crazy. We're in the middle of a presidential campaign, election. They just won't be able to rationalize it in any way or justify it. So they're going to have to assist Israel in a way with boots on the ground where it's not completely obvious. We already have. So I don't think that we wouldn't in a harder situation like with Hezbollah. Also, keep in mind, guys, when Iran promised, people have short-term memory, and Sulaiman, you could add to this as well, please. I remember when they killed Haniyeh in Tehran, right, Iran, and Iran said, we're going to retaliate, and they like hyped it up, doing commercials and shit, saying that they're going to retaliate. Like, the U.S. mobilized like 4,000 troops, and they moved aircraft carriers, guys. So, and that was just for a potential missile strike from Iran. You don't think they're going to go ahead and actually do some real assistance with a foot invasion?
I mean, I agree with you, Myron. I actually think that they're going to have, not significant, but I think they'll have an actual, maybe even soldiers on the ground as well with them, because not only in the manner what you said in terms of what they've been using in Gaza, but Lebanon is going to be much more difficult. Southern Lebanon is going to be much more difficult. The terrain is going to be a lot more difficult. When they start seeing a lot of the Israelis going body bags, the question becomes actually, I mean, and I guess this is the reason I'm saying it is because, and I could be wrong about this, and and it's not about being wrong, it's just opinion, that once you see Israelis start going back home in body bags, what happens? Do you think Israel is going to completely withdraw, or do you think they're going to get American support to make sure they take out Hezbollah? So if you think that they're going to get support to take out Hezbollah, then there's definite American boots on the ground. If you think that they're going to just take the loss and just accept that they got defeated, then obviously there won't be American boots on the ground. On the other hand, if you think Israel is just going to dominate and just destroy Hezbollah, then obviously there'll be less boots on the ground. It'll be more the way, like, probably similar to what Myron said. So this is the question of, like, which way is the war going to go?
Yeah, and I just don't see a scenario where they're going to dominate. It's going to be it's going to be a fight. Like, they're not going to, I mean,
they're an invading army.
Fight.
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah. They're the invading army going into foreign land. They already have the disadvantage. Though they do have superior military equipment and support and an air force, it is much harder when you're the invader. And, I mean, we are already seeing reports of ambushes by Hezbollah already. So,
yeah, and I mean, just to mention, like, because we're just analyzing it, right? Because like one of the mistakes I think Hezbollah made was, in my view, when Israel went into Gaza, that's when, in my view, they should have struck. Because there's no way, in my view, Israel would have been able to fight in two different fronts.
I see what you mean. Like they hit them. You're saying they should have hit them hard when they went into Gaza.
Yeah,
like
because
from a military
we all
strategy.
I knew they're gonna come after Hezbollah. Like it was so obvious to me, and I was like, why not hit them when they're going into Gaza and they won't be able to fight in two fronts? History's shown us that people have had extreme difficulty fighting in two fronts. I mean, one of the major reasons Germany lost the war was because of the attempt to fight on two fronts, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows this. And so when you know that, why not just go in then? So I think that was a huge error, because what they've done is basically dominating Gaza and then now go for Hezbollah. And the same point becomes about Iran, because after they're done with Hezbollah, they're going to go for Iran. So now the question becomes, does Iran go now and then force America into it, or do they allow Israel to defeat Hezbollah and then come after them? So it's going to be like a complexity. Again, I think that it's not a smart idea just to let Israel take out one group, one proxy group, or one axis of resistance at a time. I think that's not a smart idea either.
Yeah, no, and I got to wrap up here soon, but I mean, you brought up a good point. Iran is damned if they do, damned if they don't, because, yeah, you're right. If after, let's say they dismantle Hezbollah, they're absolutely going after Iran next, 100%. Because Iran is the root cause of all their problems. You know, Netanyahu has been there saying all the time, it's Iran proxy, Iran proxy, Iran proxy. You know, and he's been saying, I'm going to finish the job. We're going to finish the job, right? He said when he came to America and he sat there in Congress, right, and he spoke in front of everybody, and he got like 56 standing ovations or whatever it may be, right? He said, give us the tools so we can finish the job, America. Give us the tools. So when he says finish the job, what does he mean by that, chat? He means he's going after everybody. This isn't just Hamas. This is Hezbollah. This is Iran. This is IRGC. He's going after everyone, right? So that's what he's going to say, because in his mind, he looks at it like Iran is the one that paid Hezbollah to shoot those rockets at us. Iran is the one that funded these guys to invade us on October 7th. He's able to tie everything back together, and that's what they're going to do. So, yeah, I agree with you. Iran is absolutely next. So Hezbollah, from a strictly a military strategy perspective, if they had attacked the IDF as soon as they invaded Gaza, yeah, you're right. That would have definitely discombobulated them.
Yeah, that was my position at the time. I thought they should have done it.
Yeah, and now they're dealing with them head on, right? Because now they pretty much they've pretty much disrupted Hamas to a significant degree, where they can now focus on Hezbollah, which, you know, from a military strategy perspective, that's not in their favor. So,
well, they've destroyed Gaza completely. They've destroyed the infrastructure.
Yeah,
I think they have harmed Hamas significantly.
Yeah, they have. They didn't destroy them, but they definitely hurt them.
Yeah. But then the thing is, it's not enough. That, remember, there's enough Hamas that they still have a lot of hostages still, right?
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of hostages around, and then you have other Hamas fighters. So they haven't decimated or destroyed.
How many do they still have? Like 100 something? How many do they still have?
It's unknown, because obviously some of them have probably died. If you had to ask me as a guess, I'd probably say 80.
Okay. Wow.
60 to 80.
Yeah. Okay. So they still have a fuck ton of them. Wow.
Yeah. And so, like, again, what about the hostages? They're going into a war with Lebanon, and they're like, yeah, hostages, like, what are those? Forget about it.
Yeah, they completely forgot. And not only that, that's interesting too. I noticed is like most of those hostages that they got back, they didn't get back from actually rescuing them. They got them back through agreements, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Exactly. So almost all hostages, 90% of them, because they only rescued 4 of them, right?
Yeah.
The rest of the hostages have either been killed by Israel, or they were given, as you said, as a hostage exchange. And the hostage exchange was quite a fair one, 1 to 3 people. Remember, in the past, it was 1 to 1,000.
Yeah.
And so
that was early in the conflict too. I remember that they released footage of it and everything, and like it was very strange. Like the Hamas people were like, oh, bye, and hugging the people and shit. I was like, what the fuck? What's going on?
Yeah,
it was weird, but yeah,
because Hamas treated them really well.
Yeah,
and remember on our October the 7th episode that we did, the like 5.5 hour one.
Yeah,
one of the things we showed was that they were offered a hostage exchange on October the 8th. and they refused it.
Yeah.
So I think they just clearly showed that they don't really care about the hostages. That was just like literal fake news. Because
That
even
actually blew
Netanyahu
my
was now
mind.
like, guess what, guys? I need to defeat Hezbollah for the hostages. And it's like, well, bro, like, there's
Dude,
no hostages.
that blew my mind when you showed me that, because I didn't know that. I didn't know that they actually had an agreement in place to return the hostages back immediately, and Israel declined. And that came from Israeli media. We didn't get that from like Arab media. That came literally from Israeli media, that there was a deal in place to get the hostages back, and Netanyahu refused. He said, no, we're going to invade Gaza anyway. And it's crazy because their military efforts only saved 4 of the hostages. You know, the overwhelming majority of them came from negotiations, like peace negotiations and ceasefires. So, I don't know. This is very crazy stuff. But what I know, guys, we're gonna have a Zoom call for CastleClub Premium guys here with the crypto stuff. So any of you guys that want to go ahead and get into the crypto course, get in there, man. We'll drop the link in there for you guys right now. Join in the CastleClub Premium. So the way it works, guys, is the crypto course is one thing, and then if you want to jump in a Zoom call that they're going to do tonight where they can answer a lot of your questions, get into CastleClub Premium if you're a CastleClub member. The crypto course doesn't go live until October 14th or 15th, and they're going to be doing two a day Zoom calls where they're going to, educate you guys on what's going on in crypto, work with you closely, and pretty much everyone that joins, man, makes a bunch of money. So get in there, guys, in the Cultivate Crypto course, or excuse me, the Crypto Mindset course with Charlie and Miguel. We'll drop the link and put it at the top of the description for you guys, for all you guys to join up. And Zoom call tonight for CastleClub Premium, guys.
It's already on top of the description.
Boom.
Yeah, Miguel. You said it's with Miguel. That guy knows his stuff. Like, I met him. He's just a crypto genius.
Yeah, very, very smart guys. But Sulaiman, where can the people find you, man? And thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. Or actually, you know what? You want me to read some chats? You got 5 minutes to read chats with us, Sulaiman, or you got to get back to your space?
Okay. There's a lot of what's the right word? If it was my own show, I'd be using the Z word, but there's a lot of Israelis on your YouTube chat.
Probably. Let's see here. What do we got here? We got WFNF all day, everybody, you motherfuckers. Shout out to you, Better Life 123. These are some of the Twitch things. I can read some of these. It's me, book cheered 100 bits. Actually 200 bits. Leon PlayStation gifted a 1 month sub to Dames Gandolfini. So you're the Brokey Dames. John Davis, subscriber Prime. To Tsunami, subscriber Prime. Angel, subscriber Prime. Shout out to all you guys. Welcome to the fam. Neely Munn goes, could you answer my question last minute from previous show? Maybe it's too late to the crypto star unless you know the answer. I don't, bro. So you got to go ahead and get in CastleClub Premium, my friend. Get in there. They're going to do a Zoom call right after this. I'm going to get off here very soon. Fresh, who won the debate earlier? Keith of the Pokemon? What?
Keith or the Pokemon?
I don't know what he's talking about.
I watched some of that debate. Like, let me be clear on this. I know people will be like, oh, he's Muslim, that's why he's saying it. So, like, when I saw the Christian-Muslim debates, I thought the Christian guys won all the debates except for the one with the Muslim lantern and that Neoplate. What's the guy called who come on your show?
Okay, so you actually think that
something. But I'd say, but today's one, I think Daniel Hakikutu absolutely dominated.
Okay. Hey man, we need the show again. This is for Fresh updates. Okay. Think about this, making fun of Fresh. Looking like Diddy. Myron, how do I stop protein farts? Serious question, nigga. I've been eating 170 grams every day, and my farts smell doom. They smell like Chris when he doesn't shower for 2 days. Hey, man, just wash your butthole, bro. What else do we got here? Anything else?
Even no? Myron farts been farting like all night, bro.
So, guys, so tomorrow I'm going to be doing a mega stream. I'm going to be covering more of the conflict. I'm going to be covering the debates. I'm going to be covering coverage leading up to the debates, the hurricanes, etc. Obviously, I'm very tired, guys. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little jet lagged. Been traveling. Still came in and gave you guys 2 episodes of Fresh and Fit. Bro, Sulaiman in. Sulaiman, thank you so much for coming. Where can the people find you, bro?
I'm on Twitter, so my handle is SHAYKH Sulaiman. And then I'm gonna be starting my show next Thursday, but like that's the channel needs sorting out. But it's gonna be called Sulaiman Unfiltered. So that'll be on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. So that's coming from October the 10th.
And I got your page up right now for the people to find you on X. You're hosting a space right now, and you took some time to talk with us, man. I really appreciate that. He's hosting a space right now, guys, and he jumped off to jump on the podcast with us. So thank you for that. And I'll be live tomorrow, guys. Expect me on somewhere between 3 to 5 p.m. start time, Eastern Standard Time, and I'll give you guys plenty of leeway to know of when we do it. but I'm going to be on for a very long time. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow. And get the crypto course, guys. Link is in the bio, and they're going to be doing a Zoom call right after this on Castle Club Premium. So for some of you guys that can't wait for the course to drop on the 14th, get into Castle Club Premium, and you can go ahead and get a starter. As a matter of fact, if you're worried about the course, let's say, man, I don't know if this course is worth it. You know what? How about this? Get into Castle Club Premium, join the Zoom call, ask your questions there, get the value there, and then you'll know, oh shit, I want to be in this, because they're going to give you Zoom calls like that twice a day for like 2 weeks. So Castle Club Premium, go in there right now, guys. Link is in the Discord, and we also got a special discount for you guys that are in there in Castle Club Premium for the course, should you choose to upgrade and get it. So, but it's live right now. Or if you just want to get the course, get that. Or you want to do both, do both. Love you guys. I'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m.-ish, 5 p.m.-ish at the latest. Love you guys. Peace.